Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. This time, we're taking a deep dive into personal finance using RamitSethi'sI Will Teach You to Be Rich. And don't worry, this isn't about, becoming a Wall Street, hotshot or anything. It's more about using your money to kind of like design a life that you really, really love.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about this book is it really is about achieving financial freedom.
Yeah.
It's not just about like chasing a big bank account.
Hmm.
It's more about understanding how money can really help you achieve like your own definition of, what a rich life looks like.
Well, that's what I want to dive into today. I really love that idea of a rich life, but I think first we got to talk about getting started because the book really emphasizes that action is key, right?
Absolutely. Sethi really argues that you don't need to be like, some kind of financial whiz to get started. Even small steps can make a big difference over time.
Yeah, he uses that great analogy about the grilled cheese sandwich. Like you don't have to be an Iron Chef to get cooking.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about getting comfortable with those basics, like setting up a budget or even like, opening a savings account. And you can always sort of add more complex ingredients later on.
So thinking about that analogy, what's like one simple financial ingredient that our listener can start with today?
One thing that I think often gets overlooked is credit. Building good credit is kind of like having a secret weapon in your financial arsenal, so to speak.
Yeah, because I remember Sethi saying something about good credit can potentially save you tens of thousands of dollars. How does that actually work?
So, well, when you apply for a loan, like a mortgage or maybe like a car loan, lenders are going to be looking at your credit score to assess your financial trustworthiness. So a good credit score means you're more likely to pay back that loan, and because of that, they offer you a lower interest rate.
Oh, so a lower interest rate means you pay less over the life of the loan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So for example, imagine you're buying a house. You need a mortgage. Even a small difference in interest rates can add up to significant savings over the life of that loan.
Okay, that makes sense. But like, how do you actually build good credit? I'll admit I'm still a little intimidated by the whole credit card world.
Yeah, well, Sethi's a big advocate for using credit cards wisely. He actually uses his rewards points really strategically.
Yeah.
I mean, he even shares a story about how he scored a free flight to a wedding in Wisconsin thanks to his points. But he's very clear. It's about being responsible.
So it's not about like racking up debt, but using your credit cards strategically.
Precisely. Yeah, he provides a lot of like practical tips for using credit responsibly. Just simple things like, pay your bills on time, keep your credit utilization low.
Yeah.
He even provides a script for negotiating those, late fees if you happen to slip up.
Oh, it's like having a cheat sheet for adulting. I wish someone had told me all this stuff sooner.
Yeah, he even says aiming for a credit score of 750 or above that can unlock better interest rates and all those other perks, those financial perks.
Okay, so once you've got a handle on your credit,
Yeah.
what's next? Because I know Sethi mentioned something called the ladder of personal finance, right?
Right. He lays out like a clear framework for actually prioritizing your financial actions. And the first rung on that ladder is maximizing your 401k employer match.
Okay, can we break that down a bit? What does that actually mean? Is it really free money, like everyone says?
It really essentially is. A lot of employers will match a certain percentage of your contributions to your 401k, which is like, a retirement savings plan. So it's kind of like getting a bonus just for saving for your future.
Okay, so it's kind of a no-brainer to contribute at least enough to get that full match.
Absolutely. It's one of the easiest ways to boost your retirement savings without even like lifting a finger.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the next rung on the ladder?
Next up is tackling that high interest debt, especially like those pesky credit cards, right?
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that one. But what if you're feeling really overwhelmed by debt? Where do you even begin?
Well, Sethi recommends focusing on paying off that debt with the highest interest rate first, because that's going to save you the most money over time. He even suggests like negotiating with creditors to try to lower your interest rates or maybe waive certain fees.
So it's about being like proactive and taking control rather than just letting that debt like pile up.
Exactly. And he really talks about like this immense psychological relief that comes with being debt-free. It frees up not just your finances, but your mental energy as well.
Makes sense. What about that other like big scary topic, investing?
So the next rung on the ladder is opening and maxing out a Roth IRA. This is a retirement account that offers tax benefits and lets your investments grow tax-free.
Okay, I've heard of Roth IRAs, but honestly, the whole investing world seems like this big mystery to me. Is it really as complicated as it sounds?
I I think Sethi does a great job of demystifying investing.
Yeah.
Showing it doesn't have to be like scary and risky.
I mean, he even challenges that idea that investing is all about picking stocks and timing the market, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses this brilliant analogy to illustrate how unpredictable the market can be. He compares it to trying to predict where a butterfly will land after it flaps its wings in China.
Okay, that puts it into perspective. So if we're not trying to like outsmart the market, then what's the strategy?
Well, Sethi is a big advocate for this really simple and effective approach called index fund investing.
Okay, so what are index funds exactly, and why does Sethi love them so much?
Well, you can think of an index fund like a basket of stocks that's tracking a specific market index, like maybe the S&P 500. Instead of like, trying to pick individual stocks, which is really difficult to do, even for experts, you're basically buying a small piece of that entire market.
Oh, so you're diversifying your investments across like, hundreds or even thousands of companies.
Precisely. And because index funds are passively managed, they have really low fees, which means more of your money is working for you over time.
That sounds a lot less intimidating than like me trying to pick winning stocks.
Exactly. Sethi actually jokes about, how much the traditional financial industry hates his love of index funds because, they push those high-fee, actively managed funds.
Yeah, I can see why that would ruffle some feathers. So once you've got your 401k and your Roth IRA in order, where does Sethi suggest going next on that ladder of personal finance?
So the final rung is really just investing in additional accounts as needed. That could be, taxable brokerage accounts or even, real estate.
So the ladder really gives you this framework for prioritizing your financial actions, right? Starting with those most impactful steps.
Absolutely. You kind of think of it like building a solid financial foundation, brick by brick.
Okay, I'm starting to feel like a lot less overwhelmed by all of this, but what about like, actually managing your money day to day? Does Sethi advocate for like, strict budgets?
He actually offers this really refreshing alternative to that dreaded budget. It's called conscious spending.
Okay, conscious spending. I like the sound of that already. What does that entail?
It's really just about being mindful and intentional with where your money goes. He makes a distinction between being, cheap and being frugal.
So it's not about depriving yourself, but making choices that really align with your values.
Exactly. He tells this great story about his friend Lisa, who happily spends $300 on designer shoes, but lives in a tiny apartment because she prioritizes those experiences over, having a fancy living space.
So Lisa's making a conscious choice to spend on what she values, even if it seems unconventional to other people.
Yeah, exactly. It's about understanding your own priorities and making those financial choices that support, your own version of that rich life, whatever that looks like.
That's a really empowering concept. But like, how do you put conscious spending into practice? Does Sethi have any tools or strategies that he suggests?
Yeah, he introduces a system called 4 buckets for allocating your money.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are these 4 magic buckets?
So the buckets are fixed costs, savings, investments, and, my personal favorite, guilt-free spending money.
Guilt-free spending money? I love that. That takes all the shame out of, spending money on things that you enjoy.
Yeah, right. It's not about deprivation. It's about making sure you're also allocating money for the things that bring you joy and just make life more enjoyable.
So how do you figure out, like, how much to put in each bucket? Does he have a formula or something?
He suggests starting by tracking your spending in certain categories, like just to understand where your money is going now. And then you can start making adjustments to, align your spending with those values. He even provides specific examples of categories to track in the book.
So it's awareness first and then making intentional changes.
Exactly. And he emphasizes that it's not about making like these huge drastic changes overnight. It's more about those small, sustainable adjustments that you can really stick with for the long haul.
Yeah, because those small changes can really add up over time.
Exactly. He even suggests what's called the envelope system for your cash expenses, which is, you literally allocate cash into different envelopes for different things like, your groceries, your entertainment, your dining out.
So it's like a visual way to see how much you have left to spend. I could see that being really helpful.
Yeah, he actually tells this story about his friend Julie, who used the envelope system successfully to curb her her impulse spending and really get her finances on track.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. You build good credit habits, you prioritize your financial actions with the ladder of personal finance, you adopt that conscious spending mindset. What's next?
Well, Sethi stresses the importance of automating your financial systems so that you don't have to constantly be thinking about it.
Automation. The key to making life easier. How does Sethi suggest we automate our finances?
So he talks about this idea of the next $100 concept. And it's essentially you decide where every $100 that you earn is going to go before you even receive it.
Oh, so it's about being intentional, like having a plan for your money rather than just letting it, slip through your fingers.
Exactly. And then he really walks you through setting up these automatic transfers for everything. Your bill payments, your savings goals, your investment contributions.
So it's like setting up your finances on autopilot. You make the decisions up front, and then the system takes care of the rest.
Exactly. He even compares like automating your bill payments to, like that reliable little old lady who never misses a payment, always on time.
I love that image. So once you've automated the basics, what about those like bigger financial goals?
Well, that's where investing comes in. And Sethi has a lot to say about how to do it wisely and effectively.
This is where things get really interesting for me. So let's dive into Sethi's approach to investing and uncover the secrets to building long-term wealth without, all the stress and the complexity. Okay, so we've talked about building good credit. We've talked about that ladder of personal finance to prioritize our actions and then adopting that conscious spending mindset. But, life happens, right? Life doesn't always go according to plan. So what about those unexpected expenses that tend to pop up?
Well, that's where Sethi's advice on building an emergency fund is so crucial. He really emphasizes having, a dedicated stash of cash specifically for those, oh crap moments in life.
Oh crap moments. I like that.
Things like job loss, medical emergencies, car troubles, all those things that can really, really throw your finances off track if you're not prepared.
Yeah, I think he suggests like 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved up, right? Which can feel a little daunting.
Yeah, it can definitely seem like a big number when you look at it all at once. But Sethi really emphasizes that you don't have to build it overnight.
Mm-hmm.
The key is just consistency.
So even like starting small, $50, $100 a month, whatever you can manage.
Exactly. Even small amounts add up over time. And again, he's all about those automatic transfers. Set it up once and just let the system do the work for you.
So automate a specific amount to be transferred to that emergency fund each payday. And before you know it, you've got this nice safety net in place.
Exactly. And remember, this money is only for true emergencies, not impulse buys, not that tempting vacation that, pops up on your Instagram feed.
Resist the urge.
That emergency fund is your peace of mind. It's your financial backstop. You want it there when you truly need it.
Okay, so don't touch it unless it's a real financial crisis. But then what happens if you do have to use it?
Well, that's when you want to replenish it as quickly as possible, right? Back to those automatic transfers, start rebuilding that fund. But Sethi also suggests thinking about for those really big unexpected expenses, that might even be more than what you have in the emergency fund. Thinking about options like personal loans, but really only as a last resort.
So it's like multiple layers of protection for your financial well-being?
Yeah, he also encourages thinking about insurance, things like disability insurance in case you're unable to work. It's all about planning for those unexpected events.
Okay, I'm getting the picture. Now, what about those unexpected things that are good, like, those times when you get a bonus or an inheritance, something like that? What does he say about that?
The fun stuff, right? So, Sethi actually has a more strategic approach than you might think. Sure, it's okay to celebrate and enjoy a portion of that extra money, but he really emphasizes using a good chunk of it to really bolster your financial foundation.
So maybe paying down some debt, adding to that emergency fund, or even investing a portion of it.
Exactly. Think of those windfalls as an opportunity to accelerate your progress toward your financial goals.
It's like getting this sudden boost on your financial journey.
Precisely. Now, there's another topic Sethi tackles that I think a lot of people can relate to, and that's helping family members who may be struggling financially.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough one. You want to help, but you also have to protect, your own financial well-being.
Yeah, it's a really delicate balance. So Sethi suggests starting with, a really open and honest conversation, really understanding what's going on and setting those clear boundaries. It's about finding that balance between helping and enabling.
Okay, so it's not about like bailing them out, but more about like, supporting them in a way that's sustainable for everyone involved.
Right. It might mean helping them create a budget, maybe connecting them with some resources or even just offering, emotional support.
Mm.
But it's important to avoid becoming financially responsible for someone else's choices, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. Protect your own financial oxygen mask first, right? Before helping others. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, I want to talk about one of Sethi's like core principles that I think really resonates with a lot of people, which is this idea of aligning your spending with your values.
Yeah. And this is really where that idea of a rich life comes in, right? It's not just about having a lot of money. It's about designing a life that truly reflects what matters most to you.
And making those choices consciously.
Exactly. Sethi really encourages you to sit down and identify those experiences, those relationships, those pursuits that really bring you joy, and then make those conscious choices about how you're spending your money to support those values.
So it's about being really intentional with your spending rather than just like mindlessly swiping that credit card.
Exactly. Exactly. And Sethi actually provides, tools and strategies for tracking your spending, for identifying those areas where you can maybe cut back, and then reallocating those funds to things that really align with those values.
Again, he's all about those small, sustainable changes that add up over time.
Right. And remember, he's not advocating for deprivation here. It's about making sure you're spending on things you love, guilt-free.
Guilt-free spending money bucket. Gotta love it.
Right. It's brilliant because it allows you to actually enjoy the things that matter to you without feeling like you're being irresponsible.
Okay, I'm loving this. So we've got a plan for unexpected expenses, a strategy for handling windfalls. We're aligning our spending with our values. What else does he cover? What else haven't we touched on yet?
Well, he dives into some really interesting topics like buying a car, navigating that whole home buying process, even planning for a wedding. All those major life events with, pretty significant financial implications.
Yeah, those are all things that I know I've personally stressed over. I'm curious to hear Sethi's take. Let's start with cars. Does he have any like unconventional advice when it comes to buying a car?
He certainly does. Yeah, he really challenges a lot of the conventional wisdom about buying a car, presents a unique perspective, that's for sure.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's hear it.
So, he's a big advocate for buying a car that you genuinely love, like something you're excited about driving, but also one that's reliable, that's not going to leave you stranded on the side of the road.
So it's about finding that balance between, practicality and passion.
Exactly. And he really emphasizes the importance of doing your research and being willing to negotiate when you're buying a car. He even shares this story about how he negotiated this incredible deal on his car by just doing his homework, understanding that dealer's invoice price.
I remember that he like completely bypassed the whole car salesman like, song and dance routine.
Exactly. And he stresses that it's about being informed and empowered as a buyer. Really understanding your leverage in that situation.
Not just walking in blindly.
Yeah, yeah. He also highlights the importance of maintaining your car really meticulously.
Yeah, because a well-maintained car is going to last longer, hold its value better.
Exactly. It might not be the most glamorous aspect of car ownership, but it can pay off big time when it comes time to sell and trade in your vehicle.
Okay, solid advice on buying a car. What about that other huge financial milestone, buying a house?
Yeah, this is where things can get really overwhelming for a lot of people, and understandably so. It's a massive financial commitment.
Yeah, I'm already overwhelmed just thinking about it.
So Sethi, he really starts by asking this fundamental question. He says, is buying a house even the right move for you right now?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in this idea of home ownership without really considering if it's the right financial decision for you at this moment in time.
Absolutely. And he points out that buying a house isn't always the best financial decision, and there are definitely times when renting might make more sense.
Okay, so what are some factors that he suggests you should consider when you're making that decision?
Well, he stresses the importance of getting your finances in order before even thinking about buying a house.
Yeah.
That means having a solid credit score, having a substantial down payment saved up.
So again, it's all about that solid financial foundation that we've been talking about.
Exactly. He also advises being really realistic about that total cost of homeownership. It's not just that mortgage payment. It's your property taxes, it's your insurance, it's maintenance, it's all those, those other expenses that come with owning a home.
Which can really add up.
Yeah, it's easy to get fixated on that mortgage payment and forget about all those other costs.
Yeah, yeah. So for those who are ready to take the plunge, does he offer any practical tips for actually navigating that whole home buying process?
He does. So he recommends checking your credit score thoroughly. The higher your score, the better that interest rate's going to be on your mortgage.
So all that hard work we put into building good credit really does pay off here.
Absolutely. He also emphasizes saving as much as possible for that down payment. Ideally 20% to avoid those private mortgage insurance fees, which can add up.
So the bigger the down payment, the less you'll end up paying in insurance. Okay, got it.
Exactly. And he even suggests, delaying that home purchase if you haven't been able to save up a substantial down payment, just to make sure you're really financially prepared for that commitment.
So patience is key.
Patience is key. Sethi also reminds us that a house is, it could be both a financial investment, but it's also, a place to call home.
Yeah, it can be tricky to navigate that duality.
It really can. And he acknowledges that, there's potential for real estate to appreciate in value over time, but he cautions against viewing your primary residence as purely a financial investment.
So don't get caught up in the hype of real estate being this like get rich quick scheme or something.
Right, exactly. He encourages you to really think about the lifestyle that you want and finding a home that aligns with your values and priorities rather than just, chasing the highest potential return on investment.
So it goes back to that idea of that rich life, right?
Yeah.
Like define what that means for you and then make those financial choices that support that.
Exactly. Think about the experiences you want to have, the relationships you want to nurture, even, the impact you want to make on the world.
Okay, I love that. So we've covered cars, we've covered houses. What about weddings? What does he say about that?
Yeah, well, weddings can be, they're exciting, but they're also a major financial stressor for a lot of couples. And Sethi, he offers this really refreshingly practical perspective on weddings, emphasizing the importance of setting a realistic budget and sticking to it.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Right, it can be. So he encourages couples to really prioritize those aspects of the wedding that are most important to them and to be willing to compromise in other areas to stay within their budget.
So like, what are the non-negotiables and then be flexible with everything else.
Exactly. And he suggests, exploring those alternative ways to save money, like, having a smaller guest list, maybe choosing a less expensive venue or even, DIYing certain elements of the wedding.
Just getting creative and finding those ways to personalize it without, breaking the bank.
Exactly. He also stresses the importance of having those open and honest conversations, with family members who may be contributing financially to the wedding to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that expectations are clear.
Yeah, because money conversations can be, kind of tricky, especially when family's involved.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But he reminds us that weddings are ultimately about celebrating love and commitment. It's not about, impressing others or going into debt to have the perfect day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, keep it in perspective. It's a celebration of love, not a, a financial burden.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about one of, I think, the most essential skills when it comes to personal finance, and that's mastering the art of negotiation.
Negotiation. That's one where I could definitely use some help. I tend to shy away from it, but Sethi seems to really embrace it. Why does he place so much emphasis on negotiation?
Well, he really sees it as this essential tool for getting the best deals, in all areas of life, not just, in business context.
So it's about like advocating for yourself and knowing your worth.
Exactly. And he really stresses that negotiation is a skill that can be, learned and honed. You can get better with practice.
So it's not about being like, aggressive or confrontational. It's about developing a skill set.
Exactly. He actually breaks down the negotiation process into these simple steps, starting with knowing your worth. What are you willing to pay or accept in a given situation?
Okay, so like doing your research and knowing that bottom line.
Exactly. He encourages, really thorough research to understand like comparable prices, market rates, industry standards. He also emphasizes the importance of being, very clear about your goals. What are you hoping to achieve through this negotiation?
So it's not about just like going in blind. It's about like having a strategy and a clear objective.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And he provides, really specific tips on how to frame your requests, how to use I statements, how to present your case persuasively.
So being, assertive, but also respectful and professional in your approach.
Exactly. Exactly. And he stresses the importance of being confident and assertive while remaining respectful and professional. And he provides all these, great examples of how he's negotiated lower prices, better deals, even higher salaries by using these techniques.
So he's walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. Exactly. He even shares scripts and email templates that you can use to practice your negotiation skills, get comfortable asking for what you want.
So for those of us who are, a little more shy or conflict averse, what does he say to us?
Well, he acknowledges that negotiation can be intimidating, especially for those who are naturally shy or conflict averse. But he encourages, stepping outside that comfort zone a little bit and viewing negotiation as a challenge, as an opportunity for growth.
So like reframing it as a chance to develop this valuable skill rather than something to be feared.
Exactly. Exactly. And he reminds us that, the worst that can happen is that you're told no, and even then you've gained valuable experience, valuable insights that you can use in future negotiations.
So it takes some of the pressure off.
Right, right. And he also stresses the importance of being persistent and not giving up easily, especially when it comes to negotiating for something that you really, believe in, that's important to you.
So don't take no for an answer right away, if it's something that you truly believe in.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, let's dive into some specific scenarios where negotiation can be really effective, starting with negotiating for a salary in a new job.
Ooh, that's where I think a lot of people, myself included, get really nervous.
Sure.
Any tips for navigating those salary negotiations?
Yeah, this is where I think a lot of people, leave money on the table just because they're not comfortable asking for more, or they just don't know how to negotiate effectively.
Yeah.
So Sethi provides this really great step-by-step guide to negotiating your salary, starting with, really thorough research to understand what's the market rate for your position, for your experience level.
So knowing your worth and what others in similar roles are earning.
Exactly. Exactly. He encourages you to really frame your request in terms of the value that you bring to the company, rather than just focusing on, your personal needs or financial situation.
Yeah, so it's about like, what are you bringing to the table? How can you benefit this company, not just what you need financially?
Right, right. And he emphasizes the importance of practicing your pitch and anticipating those potential objections so that you can really respond confidently and persuasively.
So being prepared for those tough questions and having a solid response ready.
Exactly, exactly. And he stresses the importance of not revealing your salary expectations too early in the process, because that can limit your negotiating power.
So it's kind of a strategic dance,
Yeah.
Not just like, blurting out a number right away.
Right, right. He actually shares a story about how he helped a friend negotiate a 28% raise just by, doing her homework, practicing her pitch, and just being really assertive but respectful in her negotiations. And he also provides specific advice on how to handle salary negotiations when you're, already employed and you're seeking a raise or a promotion.
Oh, that's great advice. So what about, negotiating in other areas of life, like with vendors or service providers?
Yeah, negotiation isn't just limited to salary discussions. It's a really valuable skill that can be applied to lots of different situations, like negotiating with vendors, service providers, even your landlord. And Sethi gives some examples of how he's successfully negotiated lower prices on everything from cable bills to car repairs by just being, polite, but firm and really knowing that bottom line.
So it's about not being afraid to ask for what you want, to ask for that better deal.
Exactly. Exactly. He encourages, challenging assumptions and not being afraid to ask for discounts, especially if you're a loyal customer or you're bundling services. And he reminds us that, the worst that can happen is that you're told no, but you'll never know unless you ask.
Yeah, that's a good point. The potential upside often outweighs the risk of hearing no, so it's worth a shot.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think as we wrap up this section on negotiation, it's clear that Sethi views it as, a truly essential skill for anyone who really wants to take control of their finances and just get those best deals in all aspects of life.
Yeah, and it's about being, empowered as a consumer and not just, accepting whatever price or terms are presented to you.
Exactly, exactly. He encourages us to be confident, to be prepared, and to remember that negotiation is a game that anyone can play and win, with the right mindset and the right approach.
Okay, I'm feeling a lot more confident about negotiation now. So what else does he cover that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, he dives into some more, nuanced topics like, optimizing your investment strategy and navigating that often complex world of taxes.
Okay, now these are topics that, I personally find a bit intimidating, but I'm eager to hear Sethi's perspective. Let's start with investments. We've already talked about index funds and asset allocation, but does he offer any like additional insights for those who maybe want to take their investing to that next level?
He does. He does. So he really emphasizes the importance of understanding your risk tolerance and investing accordingly.
Okay, so risk tolerance. What does that actually mean? Break that down for me.
Yeah, essentially it's your comfort level with the potential for your investments to fluctuate in value.
Yeah.
Now, some people are really comfortable with higher levels of risk, while others prefer a more conservative approach.
Yeah, so it's really understanding how much risk you're comfortable taking on.
Exactly. Exactly. And your risk tolerance can actually change over time, depending on factors like, your age, your financial goals, your time horizon for investing.
So someone who's, younger and has more time to recover from losses might be comfortable with a riskier portfolio.
Exactly. Exactly. So Sethi really encourages you to take a realistic assessment of your own personal risk tolerance, considering those factors, and then aligning your investments accordingly.
Okay. Okay. What about this idea of diversification?
Yeah, he also discusses the importance of diversification, which involves, spreading your investments across different asset classes, things like stocks, bonds, real estate.
So not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Diversification can help to reduce your overall risk by really minimizing the impact of any single investment performing poorly.
Yeah, it's about spreading that risk out.
Right. Right. Now, he's obviously a big advocate for index funds as we've discussed, but he does provide some insights into other investment options like, real estate investment trusts or REITs.
REITs. Okay. What are those exactly, and how do they kind of, fit into a diversified portfolio?
Yeah, so REITs are companies that own and operate, income producing real estate like, office buildings, shopping malls, apartment complexes. And they can offer, diversification. They can offer potentially higher returns than traditional bonds.
So it's kind of a way to invest in real estate without actually buying a property yourself.
Exactly, exactly. However, Sethi does caution that REITs can be, volatile. Like, they're sensitive to interest rate changes, so it's important to do your research before you invest.
So it's not like a guaranteed, home run, so to speak.
Right. It's important to understand those risks involved.
Mm.
Now, while Sethi is, a strong advocate for index funds, he acknowledges that some investors might prefer to have a bit more control over their investment choices and might opt to select, individual stocks or actively managed mutual funds.
Mm. So he's not saying that there's only one, right way to invest.
Exactly. Exactly. He encourages you to find an approach that really aligns with your risk tolerance, your financial goals, your level of comfort. But he does caution that stock picking and market timing are extremely difficult to do successfully and can actually lead to underperformance compared to just investing in index funds.
So he's not advocating for like day trading or trying to outsmart the market, trying to time it perfectly.
Right. He really encourages, focusing on building that solid investment foundation.
Yeah.
With those index funds, and then maybe exploring those other investment options as you gain, experience and knowledge.
So it's about starting with those basics,
Yeah.
getting those foundational pieces in place, and then gradually, kind of expanding those investment horizons.
Exactly. Now, as we discussed earlier, Sethi emphasizes the importance of periodically rebalancing, your investment portfolio to maintain that desired asset allocation.
Rebalancing. Remind me what that means again.
Sure, sure. So over time, as certain investments perform, better or worse than others, your portfolio can drift away from your target asset allocation, which is that mix of stocks, bonds, and other assets that you've determined is right for you. So rebalancing really involves selling some of your overperforming investments and buying more of your underperforming investments to really bring that portfolio back into alignment with your desired asset allocation.
So it's about maintaining that balance that you set for your portfolio.
Exactly. And Sethi actually suggests, establishing a regular rebalancing schedule, maybe once a year or whenever your portfolio deviates, significantly from your target allocation.
Okay, so like setting up a system to check in and make sure things are still aligned with your goals and your risk tolerance.
Exactly. Now, managing multiple investment accounts can get a little complicated, especially if you're trying to, maintain that specific asset allocation within each account.
Yeah, I could see how that would get really overwhelming quickly.
Yeah, it definitely can.
Yeah.
So Sethi suggests this strategy he calls the one pot solution to simplify things.
Okay, one pot solution. I like the sound of that. What's that?
Essentially, it involves treating all of your investment accounts as one big pot of money and aiming for your desired asset allocation across all accounts rather than trying to achieve it within each individual account.
So you're kind of looking at the big picture, the forest for the trees, rather than getting bogged down in the details of each individual account.
Exactly. He gives an example of using, Roth IRA as kind of like a variable account. So that's one that contains, a mix of different funds that you actively rebalance, while other accounts, like maybe a spouse's 401k, are treated as static accounts, holding only one type of investment.
Oh, so it's about kind of designating one account as the variable one and then keeping the others kind of static.
Exactly. And this strategy can make rebalancing a lot easier because you only need to adjust the asset allocation within that variable account to bring your overall portfolio back into alignment.
Okay, so it's kind of like having, one central command center for your investment.
Exactly. And it eliminates the need to track and adjust the asset allocation within each individual account, so it can save you a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel a lot less intimidated by the whole world of investing now.
Yeah.
It's feeling a lot more approachable.
Yeah, and that's really Sethi's, approach overall. It's about simplifying these complex topics and really empowering people to take control of their finances.
He's like a financial translator, making those complex concepts a lot more accessible to everyday people.
Exactly. Now, as we've seen throughout this whole deep dive, Sethi's approach to personal finance really goes beyond just, those numbers in those spreadsheets.
Yeah, he really emphasizes that idea of a rich life being about more than just, financial wealth.
Right. He talks about the importance of spending time with loved ones, pursuing those passions, contributing to your community or to causes that you care about.
So it's about aligning your life, not just your spending, with your values.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up this section on investing, I do want to emphasize one of Sethi's, key points, and it's that it's about being informed, it's about being disciplined, and it's about sticking to a plan.
Consistency.
Exactly. He really encourages, taking that long-term perspective on investing, resisting the temptation to chase those short-term gains, and staying the course even when the market gets a little volatile.
So it's not about getting rich quick. It's about building wealth, steadily over time.
Exactly. He reminds us that investing is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And that patience and consistency are really key to achieving that long-term success.
Okay, I like that. Investing's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay, so we've covered investing in depth. What about that other often dreaded topic, taxes?
Yeah, well, Sethi actually offers like a really, really straightforward approach to kind of navigating that whole tax landscape.
Okay, well, I'm all ears because taxes are definitely not my favorite topic.
Yeah, so he really emphasizes the importance of, just understanding the basics of how taxes work, like the difference between tax deductions and tax credits.
Yeah, those terms always confuse me.
Right. And he also encourages, you know, seeking professional advice,
Yeah.
from a qualified tax advisor, especially if your financial situation is kind of complex, or if you're self-employed.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to ask for help, when you need it.
Exactly, exactly. And he does provide some really practical tips for minimizing your tax liability, like contributing as much as possible to those tax advantaged retirement accounts, like those 401ks and Roth IRAs that we talked about earlier.
Oh, so those retirement savings that we talked about earlier can actually help reduce your tax burden as well. That's a nice bonus.
Exactly. And he even suggests in exploring some tax-efficient investment strategies, although he cautions against, making investment decisions solely based on tax implications.
Yeah, so the primary focus should always be on sound investment principles,
Right.
not just, trying to minimize taxes at all costs.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, I think it's important to emphasize that, Sethi's approach to personal finance really goes beyond just the numbers and the spreadsheets. He really encourages you to think about money as a tool to help you live a richer, more fulfilling life.
Yeah, that idea of a rich life keeps coming up. It's clearly like a central theme, in his philosophy.
It really is. It really is. He talks about the importance of spending time with loved ones, pursuing your passions, contributing to your community or causes that matter to you. He even talks about, giving back to others, using your financial freedom to make a positive difference in the world.
Yeah, so it's not just about, what money can buy, it's about those experiences and those relationships that really enrich our lives.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up completely, I do want to leave you with a final thought that wasn't explicitly mentioned in the book, but I think it really builds upon everything that we've talked about today.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
So think about this.
Yeah.
Now that you have, a framework for managing your finances and creating a life that you love, how can you actually use that newfound financial freedom to make a positive impact on your community or even the world?
That's a powerful question. It really challenges us to think beyond just, our own personal needs and consider how we can really use our resources to make a difference.
It could be volunteering your time. It could be donating to a cause you care about, or even starting a business that addresses, a social or environmental issue.
Yeah, I mean, Sethi talks about, using money as a tool to create a life you want. And I think this really extends that to creating a world that you want to live in.
Exactly. Exactly. So as you embark on this journey to financial freedom, remember that it's not just about you. It's about the impact you can have on others and the legacy you'll leave behind.
And that's an inspiring takeaway. I mean, it really takes personal finance to a whole new level. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final challenge. Think about, one action, big or small, that you can take this week to move closer to your own version of a rich life. It could be setting up an automatic transfer to your savings account. It could be scheduling that long overdue financial checkup, or even just having an open and honest conversation with your partner about money.
Yeah, I mean, every journey begins with a single step,
Hmm.
and the journey to financial freedom and a rich life is one that's well worth taking.
And that's a great note to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it, as insightful and inspiring as we have. And until next time, keep diving deep and keep living richly.